This is Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 5. Therefore, thus said Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against the all Idumean, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out as a prey. So this is what we're looking at. This man thinks that he's so-called Jewish, and he thinks that, everything that's happening, he thinking this is part of the prophecies of the Palestinians attack, being, the five Palestinian armies or nations that surrounding Israel, getting attacked. They think that's the end time prophecies that the Bible is speaking about, but it's not. And if you really listen to what he's saying, you will see he's speaking with a forked tongue, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to get Kohala Yahweh Bahashim, Hamashiach Yahushua. Forgive me the spirit and power to do this lesson. Let's get straight into it.
Kinsmen who are Israelites, to whom pertain creatures of Israel. First one, Romans 9:4. Paul says at the beginning of the verse, my kinsmen who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption, the glory, and the covenants. Let's go to the adoption. God adopted the Jewish people as a people. They have not been replaced in the economy of God by the church.
You see that? The first thing he touches on is how the Israelites have not been replaced. But then when you listen to the rest of the sermon, we only going to watch 5 minutes of this. The first 5 minutes is good enough. I watched it. I think the first 5 minutes is good enough, right? This man is completely crazy, right?
And there are some preachers who are teaching that right now in America. It's called replacement theology, that God replaced the Jewish people with the church. Before World War II, that was the rage in America. When Israel was born as a nation, I was alive at that time. I was 8 years old. I heard preachers preach, well, don't worry, this is not anything of any significance. They're surrounded by 5 Arab armies, and they're not going to last 6 months. Not so. It was God's set time for them to be blessed the second time and for that nation to be born. And they became a great nation, and today have the third most powerful nation on the face of the earth.
Right, and we know he's talking about the Iron Dome. He's talking about the Sling of David. These are the kind of, this is what they named their military technology after. The Iron Dome, the Sling of David. And that's what he's talking about. These Arab nations haven't took Israel, those Israelis down yet, so they must be the people, right? And we know that's bullshit, because in Luke chapter 21, it tells you, it says that they're going to be in that land until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, right? These are the kind of scriptures they don't want to touch on, right? So when you go to Luke chapter 21 and 20, right, it says, and when Jerusalem shall be compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the country enter therein too. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written shall be fulfilled. And you got to think about it like this. If these people are the people, then, and they return back to their homeland in 1948, then why are Israelis leaving Israel right now because of the war that's going on? Right? So if you look at this, if you read these articles, it'll tell you how Israelis are leaving the homeland as we speak. See, it says 285% spike in Israelis leaving country. And this was posted July 19, 2024 at 2 p.m. Right? And it'll tell you, and there's many more articles. I just clicked on the first one I seen, that these Israelis are leaving the country. These are supposed to be God's chosen people, but they're leaving the country because of war. But here it is. They're the ones that's claiming that they returned back to the homeland in 1948. And if you read Isaiah chapter 2, it'll tell you how once the Israelites return back home, there would be no more war. It'll tell you Yahushua is going to return home first and bring the Israelites with him. So they all in error, and all of these people are idiots for following this false doctrine without asking any questions. So when you keep going on Luke chapter 20, 21 and 22, so like, let me just get to the point. It says, verse 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captives into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And that's what we're looking at. The times of the Gentiles have not been fulfilled. That's why they're still in that homeland. It is because of no other reason. It's because their time isn't up yet. And we have to wait patiently on the Most High God, and He's going to let us know when their time is up, because they're not going to be able to withstand and be in that land for too much. They're going to start getting nuked. They're going to get nuked out of that land. And that's why you have Israelis. It says 285% spike in Israelis leaving country. And this was updated July 19th. Right? July the 19th. Let's see what the comments say. Bad time for a reversal in Jewish demography in Israel. Israel are resilient. There is no other explanation. Israel used to have sympathy on the whole world. Now no one gives a shit. Last one leaving, please turn off the lights. Means that Jews will become a minority in Israel even sooner. You see this? The only thing they thinking of all these different things, but the thing they not thinking is how those aren't the real people. And they'll tell us that we're not the real people. When we sitting here explaining why they in this situation, why these Arab nations won't leave them alone, right? But the Bible says until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, they're going to be in that land. And when it's fulfilled, the Most High going to nuke them out of that land. So let's keep going on this video.
The second thing is the glory. The word glory comes, and it means the visible, sensible presence of God among his people. The glory of God is not something that's intangible. It's something you feel to the core of your being. The glory impacts human senses. In the Bible, when the glory of God filled the temple, the priest could not stand in the presence of God because the presence of God was overpowering. That was the glory of God.
And I believe this man is an Israeli pastor. I think he believes that he's an Israelite. Right? He's a Jewish pastor. Right? And he's teaching redemption for all nations. He's not even teaching what the Bible teaches, man. And if you really look at how he's teaching, he's literally reading something off of a paper. So this ain't even through the Spirit. Now, I'm not saying brothers that write down lessons, they're not doing it through the Spirit, but you can tell he's reading word by word on what to say. It's a difference when you got a couple of points on a piece of paper and then you got scriptures. But then here it is. You got this dude where he's literally reading word by word everything. That's not the Holy Spirit, man. That's the equivalent of when the president running for president and he's reading off the podium, right? Everything he's saying he don't have no idea. That's why he's stumbling over his words, because it's not really coming from him. He's trying to figure out what it say, right? And that's what this man is going through right now.
There's a difference between going to church and having church. Going to church is when the power of the glory comes down and changes your life. Going to church and not participating and sitting there bored, looking at your watch or your clock while the preacher's preaching is like going grocery shopping. You might as well not be here. The glory of God first manifested itself in the form of the cloud by day and the fire by night over the tabernacle. For ancient Israel.
And if you think about it, so far, it's only been 2 minutes and 40 seconds. He's already went to two different subjects. He went from Romans 9-4 to the glory of God, right? Which, of course, it all goes together. But why he just didn't stay on Romans 9-4 and just break that down, right? With the adoption, the promises, the covenants. Why he just didn't break that down?
Israel in the wilderness, the glory of God came down after they had been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. The glory of God brings power. The glory of God brings assurance. The glory of God brings confidence. It brings hope for tomorrow. The glory of God breaks the chains of misery and habit. The glory, glory, glory. We sing that song, glory to his name. Heavenly Father, let the Shekinah glory of God, your presence, fill this house this morning, and let it liberate every person. Let it break the chains of misery and habit. Let it bring hope to those who have given up hope. Let it bring joy to those who have no joy. We have this hope because of the authority of the Word of God. Give him praise in the house.
Now, it's about to jump into the point that I wanted to get. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. This is where he's talking about, he's speaking against the law, statutes, and commandments that the Most High God said is good. Now, before I bring that out, right, I want to show how God himself said that the law, statutes, and commandments is good. I want to show that. So when you go to the book of Romans chapter 7, and this is New Testament. Of course, we know he said it in the Old Testament. They better follow it in the Old Testament, but also in the New Testament, right? So in the New Testament, Romans 7 and 12, it says, wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. So the Most High God, through the Spirit of Paul, is saying that the law, statutes, commandments is holy, just, and good. It's one of the number one things that the Most High God called good on the earth. His law, right? Just because we're weak and we can't keep it, the Most High God's law is still perfect, right? So when you go to 1 Timothy, I believe it is, chapter 1 and verse 7. 1 Timothy 1 and 7. It says, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say nor whether of they affirm. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. So the law is good when somebody use it lawfully and not just use it for tithing like these kind of people. Now let's go into the video. I want you to hear this.
The third thing that God gave the Jewish people was the law of Moses. I don't mean to be controversial, but Gentiles were never expected to keep the law of Moses to be saved. Kosher Jews keep the 10 Commandments, and they keep 613 laws. How many of you want to join this church? If I said you've got 613 things you've got to do to join this church? Not many. I wouldn't.
Boom. So this man is standing up in the pulpit. And remember, the priest's lips should keep knowledge, for they shall hear the law at his mouth. That's what it says in the book of Malachi. Let me get that right quick. So in Malachi chapter 2 and verse 7, it says, I'm going to start at verse 6. The law of the truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and in equity, and did turn many away from iniquity. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they shall seek the law at his mouth. For he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. So we have this pastor who's in the pulpit claiming to be a messenger of the Most High God, teaching, and he's playing with their minds by saying, who wants to keep 613 laws? I know I don't. But hold on, you're the pastor. You're the ones that's supposed to be teaching them how to keep the laws, teaching them the Bible, teaching them what happened to people that didn't keep the laws, and teaching what will happen if you do keep the law. The Bible's clear when it says the law, statutes, commandments bring you to life, man. You'll start understanding that you was doing wrong and that you need to do right. It will give you glory to the Most High. You give glory to the Most High God. But here it is. You got men like this. This is what these Jewish faggots. This is what they be on. Secretly behind pulpits, teaching this big ass congregation not to keep the laws of God. Straight up. And they bring up the laws of God, but here it is. America has over 2,000 laws, and they ain't never even seen the inside of a jail, man. Some of these people ain't never even got a ticket before, but then they can't keep 613 laws. But then here it is. America has 2,000 laws. Now, I do want to say this. Of course, we can't keep all 613 because some laws is dealing with just agriculture. Some laws are just dealing with the priests. So that chips off laws that we can't keep being in our homeland. But the fringes, the not shaving your beard, the cutting into your skin, the tattoos, the being on your period, bro, we can keep that. Rehearse the righteous acts of God while we in the land of our captivity. That's what we're supposed to be doing. He that practices righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. All right, but let's hear him say this one more time.
But Gentiles were never expected to keep the law of Moses to be saved. Kosher Jews keep the 10 Commandments, and they keep 613 laws. How many of you want to join this church? If I said you've got 613 things you've got to do to join this church? Not many. I wouldn't.
And you see, they laughed at it. When there's nothing funny about, bro, you're listening to a devil. This is a devil telling you not to keep God's laws, and this man's supposed to be the representation of the Most High. And this is why the Most High said what he said in Psalms chapter 50 and 16, and we're about to get that in a second. But I want to finish this, Timothy, because this is speaking about, people like this dude. 1 Timothy chapter 1 and 7, desiring to be teachers of the law. Understand, because they'll tell you that that's a law to pay tithes. Will a man rob God? They use scriptures like that in Malachi, right? It says, understanding neither what they say nor of they affirm. He don't even know. He have no idea. He's going to burn for that. He's going to burn anyway if he don't get out of America, but he's definitely going to burn. The Most High going to make sure he burns for that. It says, because there's Israelites in that crowd. He should be teaching the blacks, Hispanics, and natives that they are Israelites. That's in the crowd. You are Israelite, and you should be the one up here teaching us. But their pride is too high for that, right? That's the beginning of their kingdom falling. It says, but we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. So he's clearly telling you, you got to think of it like this. How are you going to know if you in sin, if you're doing wrong in the eyes of God without the law? That's what he said was good. That's how he's going to, judge the world, man. If you go to John chapter 5, see, these are the scriptures they are afraid to go to. And that's why they don't allow you to ask them questions, because they're afraid that you're going to ask them questions like this. In John chapter 5 and verse 46, he says, I'm going to start at 45. Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had ye believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words? Red letter Yahushua Mashiach. Yahushua is telling you Moses is who's going to judge you to see if you make it into the kingdom of heaven or not. He says, do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There was already something set up to accuse you, right? Like adultery. The law accuses you of adultery. For any kind of fornication, the law accuses you of that. Yahushua didn't come to accuse you for that, because there was already something set up in place for that. Now they're coming in, stepping in and say, oh no, we don't have to worry about that no more. And this is going to be to their own destruction. It says, do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Is it saying that Moses is going to stand up in a pulpit and be like, you ain't making it, you ain't making it, you ain't making it, you ain't making it? No. It's just talking about the law of Moses, the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. And that's just what it is, man. So from there, let me go to Psalms chapter 50. When you go to Psalms chapter 50, right? This is why the Most High God said this, and this is talking about the heathen, man. Psalm chapter 50 and 16, he said, but unto the wicked God said, because this is a wicked ass man telling you who will want to keep 613 laws. I know I wouldn't. What if you could keep them? You still wouldn't? Why are you leading the people astray like that? It says, but unto the wicked God said, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? You claiming to be an Israelite, You playing all these Jewish semantics, you playing these games, but then here it is, you denounce the one thing that'll make you a Jew. Paul talked about being a Jew inwardly and outwardly. These are some outward ass Jews, man. They ain't no inward Jews. Here it is, the Black Hispanics and Native, who they claim is a cult and a hate group, and Black Hebrew Israelites. We the ones that desire to keep the law. We wish we can keep the whole law. We wish we was in our homeland. We wish we could set the world in righteousness, man. These niggas over here going to go pray because they about to make think of, man, this is crazy. They're about to put an American, a USA embassy in Jerusalem. The most wickedest country on earth. Everybody knows this. Even the people inside of America knows this. America is the wickedest country on earth. They're about to put an embassy in Jerusalem. Bro, there's no way they can be the people, man. There's no way. But this is what he said, verse 17. Seeing thou hatest instruction and cast my words behind thee, like him telling you to keep the law, statutes, commandments, the heathen, they cast it behind them. It says, when thou sawest a thief, then thou consentest with him, and hast thou been partakers with adultery. It says, thou sittest and speaketh against thy brother. So like y'all skip to verse 19. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. And this is what we're hearing out of the mouth of Pastor John Hagee. All these people in this crowd, and nobody questions what he's saying. Nobody stands up and say, hey, so like this, and this. God told you to keep his laws even in the New Testament. Just to challenge him, to ask him a question, or just to be sincere, because you see it in the New Testament. Some of these people know you're supposed to keep the laws of God, and they're not, because they're afraid to ask him questions. They're afraid to be embarrassed, of John Hagee. Right? It says, verse 20, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such and one as thyself. You see that? In the end, they're going to be reproved. Right? And he's already reproving them right now. That's why he's woken us up. But he says, you thought I was on your side just because I was silent about what you was doing. Right? Thinking that you supposed to be the one teaching my covenant. And you not. That's why the Hebrew Israelites, we break it down bar from bar, word for word. Here a little, there a little. This nigga going all over the place if you watch this video. And the rest of his sermons is actually funny, man. Because you actually have people in our comment section. Man, let me go to it right quick. So when you go to our comment section, you got people scoffing at us like, and we're just telling niggas like this who sagging their pants, thinking that gangsters repent. And they got a problem with that, man. So let's not go to this video. They got a problem with it. Even when we get on Esau ass, man, we ain't touching them. See, look, white people are not all Esau. The Lord called me and baptized me in the spirit, and I ran away. The Lord saved me from my sin and saved me mental. He even taught me Sabbath in 2019, never went to church. I think you guys are preaching the wrong message. He shows me visions. You see, it's comments like this. They just have something to say about how we're teaching, saying that we're wrong because that in all actuality, they're scared. They're scared. Now we see, look, false prophets. Ruth was a Moabite related to Jesus. Ruth found salvation in God. See, we false prophets all because of Ruth. All because of Ruth, we're false prophets. Now, the scriptures do say, woe unto you when all men speak well of you, right? When all men speak well of you, he says, woe unto you. So it's actually an honor to be talked about like this and be treated like this by, the nations. Because Yahushua said, woe unto you when all men speak well of you. So we do have a lot of love, but we have a lot of hatred too, right? It says this reasoning is warped. You are basically implying anyone who was enslaved will one day rule their master, but you imply that no white or other race other than the ones you have stated will be enslaved. This is ignorant. You take a few cases of slavery and imply that all, and I'm sure this nigga Zen McKinney is white and he's scared, right? But the thing is, the reason why I'm going to this is because when you go to this nigga's comment section, I win. There's nobody saying, bro, this is not correct. Why aren't you telling people who the real Jews are? This is a cult. Why are you telling people that God's laws is done away with? This nigga this dude got 17K views 2 months ago. He got 500,000 subscribers, 550,000 subscribers. And nobody says nothing about him saying, who wants to keep 613 laws? I don't. And this nigga is in a pulpit supposed to be teaching the laws of God, according to Malachi chapter 2. All right, so Psalms chapter 50 and 21. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. And that's what you're looking at. He's using us as his mouthpiece to reprove you. And that's what we're doing. That's why we're getting called cults, hate groups, black Hebrew Israelites. And pretty soon we're going to be blamed for all the chaos that's going on in the earth. Right? Because one thing you got to know, when the world is angry, they need somebody to blame. Just like when you're angry, you're going to take it out on somebody. That's how you release anger. And this is how the world is going to do. When everything start happening, these plagues start coming, they're going to need somebody to blame. When things ain't working out the way America wanted to, they're going to start blaming the Hebrew Israelites, man. All right, so when you go to John chapter 4, right? And you already know what I'm going to. It's the classic. John chapter 4 and verse 19. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Yahushua said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. So he was telling a Samaritan woman, who is Samaria. Ephraim is the head of Samaria. It says that all throughout the Psalms, throughout the scriptures, Ephraim is the head of Samaria. So this was most likely a Northern Kingdom woman. And he's explaining to her how you come way up here to this mountain to worship the Most High, and there's going to be a time where you, in the Jerusalem or in this mountain, you're not going to be able to worship the Most High. And then he goes on to say, Yahushua said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father, because we're going to be scattered. He says, ye worship, ye know not what. You don't know who you worshiping. You putting all this dedication in, and you don't even know who you worshiping. Then he says, we know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. So here it is. Why is it that this man is in the pulpit? Because according to the Jews, we know what the Jews was on. The Jews was on keeping the laws of God. So here it is. This is a Jewish man returned back to his homeland. And if the laws are on his inward part, he should be teaching the nations to do so if he's really the Jews. If he's really a Jew. They should already have the laws on their inward parts, and they should be teaching the whole world, putting the world in subjection to the laws of God. But guess what? These are the same Israelis, these small hats, these niggas own the Diamond District. These niggas own Hollywood. These niggas own everything, man. All the wicked rappers, male rappers, there's a Jewish man behind them pushing them that negative connotation, man. And then they in the pulpit telling lies, man. These are the children of the devil, man. People get mad because we call these people the devil. Well, look at their actions. Straight up, man. But the Most High said he will stand us up and reprove us. He said we'll reprove them before their eyes, man. That's what we're looking at. All right, so it says, but the hour cometh, and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeks such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. So you got to be in the spirit. And we just read in 1 Timothy chapter 1 how the law wasn't made for a righteous man. Does that mean he's not going to be keeping it? No, it means that a righteous man knows to keep the law. He's going to keep it through the spirit. He's going to try to stay in the spirit as much as he can. We all know we're going to fall from the beginning. The evil seed that was planted in Adam, we all going to fall. But this nigga is teaching to not keep the laws of God. And this is supposed to be a Jew. This is the kind of, man, come on. This is why, like, brothers, we going to be happy to go before them and however they want to do it, man, because we're going to know the Most High is with us. But this is bullshit, man. This is the kind of shit we calling out. Whether they hear, whether they forbear, man, they don't got to listen, right? This is that crafty counsel that the Bible is, talking about in Psalms 83. This is crafty counsel. So in Psalm chapter 83 and verse 3, it says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Right? They ain't telling us who we are. They know who we are, man. You think they don't know who we are? They keep records of all that. They always go in their records and be like, to try to figure out what we was on all the time. They always kept our records. They know what we about. They know who we are. They know who you are, man. But it says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. That crafty counsel is telling you a nigga, you an African American. Why at the same time teaching that they Jews, but then they teaching you don't have to keep the law. But then here it is, they keeping some laws. They keeping the Talmud. Straight up, man. And they being exposed for it. And then now you have them saying, well, if you're the Jews, then keep the law. Oh, so now you want to tell us that. That's crazy. But it says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And that's why you even have on presidential campaigns, these niggas is calling us black people. They're calling us the blacks, or the slaves, like I did on the last lesson, the children of slaves. That's what they calling us, man. The Israelites have always been known as the children of slaves, man. And the fact that we're calling ourselves Israelite in a great number, is it impossible that we are Israelites too? Why you're not calling us Israelites if we're claiming to be Israelites, man? Because they're claiming to be Jewish. But here it is, Christ ain't back in the land. Here it is, they're not usurping authority over the world with the laws, statutes, commandments of the Most High God, man. They're still warring their land. There's so many holes in their, of them being the true Jews, man. There's so many holes in it. Straight up. But this is the crafty counsel that we're looking at. Niggas like John Hagee. I'm going to call this a nigga. He a nigga, man. Right, so let me go to this. Let me go to Isaiah chapter 2. Because it's another part in this video I want to show, and then I'll close out, man. It's crazy. The next part is crazy. Right, so in Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 3, this is talking about in the last days when the kingdom of heaven is established. It says, and it shall come to pass in the last days, which we're in, that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains. Meaning they're going to be exalted above all nations, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it. All nations ain't flowing to the Israelis. In fact, you have 5 Arab nations surrounding them, trying to take them out. It says, and many people shall go and say, come ye, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, the nation of Israel, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. These Israelis ain't teaching the world the Most High God's ways. It says, and we will walk in his paths, for out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. You see that? But here it is. You got this nigga saying this.
Keep the 10 Commandments, and they keep 613 laws. How many of you want to join this church? If I said you've got 613 things you've got to do to join this church? Not many. I wouldn't.
You see that? That's what you have. But here it is. It said in the last days that wouldn't happen. You're speaking contrary to what Isaiah chapter 2 is saying what will happen in the last days. And if you keep going, it says verse 4, and he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people. Right? Casting down their groves and their idols and teaching them to follow the laws of the Most High God. And that's what it tells you in Zechariah too. But it says, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. All those weapons that you was, that metal that you was using to make weapons is going to be used to be farmers, man. It says, nation shall not. It didn't say nation shall. It says, nation shall not lift up sword against nation. Neither shall they learn war anymore. Now, let's see if that's true right now. Let's see what it says. I'm just going to type in Israeli war. It says Israel-Hamas war latest blanket says complex issues, hard decisions remain over ceasefire, right? In Gaza, 5 days ago, in Gaza, Israel's military has reached the end of the line. Israel-Hamas war bodies of 6 hostages retrieved from Gaza. Right? So you got all of this war that's still happening in there in the land for them to be the people. And not only that, I don't know if I want to show this right now or I want to put it in another lesson, but it actually goes with this. But you got Israeli soldiers raping Palestinians. And when I say there is video clips to this, you literally have video clips of Israeli soldiers raping Palestinians. And look at all the records. You have it written down. Video Israeli soldiers to be tried for allegedly sexually abusing. And I'm telling you, the video is there. Look, abusing Palestinian detainees, sexual abuse of Palestinian prisoners, alleged sex abuse of Palestinian by Israeli soldiers. Bro, they over there raping the men. So imagine what they're doing to the women, but they over there raping men. They're holding them in prison and they raping them. These niggas supposed to be the children of Israel. These niggas supposed to be, and we know sodomy is one of the capital punishments. That's why he burned Sodom and Gomorrah down to the ground. That is one of the capital punishments. But here it is in the last days. We waiting on Yahushua to come. They saying it is no Yahushua, and that they're the true people, and they returned back in 1948. But they still going to war, and not only are they going to war, they raping the men. Bro, get the fuck out of here. These niggas is not the people, man. They're not the people. That's just, it's plain, man. That is not the people. Right? So that's what it says in Isaiah chapter 2. And then you can read Zechariah chapter 4 also. But I want to go back to this video because I want to show this other part.
So what's the deal? Back to the word. The word says,
you see that? He says, who want to keep 613 laws? I don't. He says, now back to the word. I thought the word was the law. When you go to 1 John, bro, I'm telling you, these dudes, you don't even have to say much because they kill themselves with this shit, man. 1 John chapter 2. Look what it says. In 1 John chapter 2 and verse 7, it says, brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment, which ye have heard from the beginning. What does it say? The old commandment that you heard from the beginning, the law of Moses, is the word which ye have heard from the beginning. The commandments is the, when you hear about the word of God, that he's talking about the laws of God. But here it is. This nigga said back to the word after denouncing the God's 613 laws. You can't make this up.
To the New Testament church, a new commandment I give you. Say that with me. A new commandment I give you, that you shall love one another as I have.
See, there he go, reading. He ain't even reading the Bible. He got the Bible in his hand and he reading something off a pen.
Loved you. End of quote.
Look at that. Mike's dropped. You've seen him close the Bible.
Love one another as I have loved you. End of quote. Beloved saints of God, if the Christians in America and the...
So when you go to John chapter 13 and 34, he says, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have, Salakia, slow down. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. That's what he said, but they're twisting this scripture also. But they come in our comment section and got something to say to us. We don't twist scriptures up like this. We don't twist the scriptures up at all, really. But this right here is a misrepresentation of the Bible. He just went to John 13 and 34 to where he says you're supposed to love as I have loved. Now, what's love? Right? Since you said that, what is love? And when you go to Romans chapter 13, he's going to be exposed for what he previously said just 30 seconds ago. Because it says, Romans 13 and 8, owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth one another hath fulfilled the law. This is what he's hinting at, but he's forgetting this. For this thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. You see that? Paul is explaining to you, he's explaining the law. All of these come from the law of God. This is how we love one another. Now, Paul does give us more detailed ways on how to do it. That's why Yahushua says, a new commandment I give you. Meaning, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to detail and show you how to do it right, man. Yahushua, that's what he said. I'm going to show. When he says, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. He says, I'm going to show you how to love each other. I'm going to show you how to love each other. Why? Because when you go into the next chapter, John 14 and 6, he says, Yahushua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. So this is the only way the Father is going to be pleased with you loving each other as you love yourself. I'm going to show you how to do it. This nigga twist the scripture up and just like, yeah, bro, just love each other. And then here it is. This is where you got homosexuals. Man, women, you got lesbianism. You got bestiality. You got all these different methods of fornication. Because niggas like this is talking about a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. End quote. And he closes the book. Like that's all he said or something. Why you didn't start at verse 31? Straight up. Why you didn't start in the context of what he was actually talking about, man? So, Con, I want to, before I continue this, I got to get this Romans, because I was thinking about this Romans chapter 6 right quick. Because I went into, Yahushua said he's going to show us, when he said a new commandment I write unto you, he's meaning I'm going to show you how to do it, a new way of doing it, right? It's more detailed. And you can read the Gospels and Yahushua show you, washing the feet, having mercy on your brother, a new way of doing it, because there was no mercy in the Old Testament. Straight up, their judgment was off. They was taking bribery. Yahushua wasn't with that. The mercy that he showed to the woman that committed adultery, right? That's the new way of loving each other, man. But he also told you to go and sin no more. Right? So when you go to Romans chapter 6, right? I'm gonna start at 4. So Romans chapter 6 and verse 4, it says, therefore we are buried with him by baptism into his death. It says that like as Hamashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in the newness of life. You understand that? You walk in the newness of life. Now, I want to get First Peter chapter. Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. And this is what Peter said too. And we know Peter was the rock. He was the head of the disciples or the apostles. All right, we're going to start at verse 18. He says, for as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of a Mashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and spot. Right? So, and that's the newness of life. That's where the newness of life come in. Right? You was redeemed so that you can have a second chance to please the Father, but through the grace of Yahushua HaMashiach. But here it is. These niggas in the homeland, 1948, there's no Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So how have you been redeemed? These niggas is saying there is no Yahweh Shah. But these supposed to be the children of God. There's no other. Where else? Even when you read in the Old Testament, including the Apocrypha, in Second Ezra chapter I believe it's 4, where it talks about, or it might be 2. Yeah, Second Ezra chapter 2. It talks about Yahweh Shai taking them back home. It talks about Yahweh Shai in Second Ezra chapter 2, the last couple verses. It talks about Yahweh Shai taking them home in the Old Testament and definitely in the New Testament. But here it is. They're saying there's no Yahweh Shai. There's no Jesus. It's crazy. So he says, going back to Romans. I don't need to go back to Romans. So Romans chapter 6 and 4. Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into his death, that like as Hamashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. When you come into the knowledge of the truth, you should walk in the newness of life, in the path of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. And then when you drop down to verse 12, it says, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body. How do we know if we in sin? Because of the law of God. So why is this man telling you, he's teaching his congregation not to keep the laws of God? He says that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin. Now, there we go again. So what is sin? We bring this out all the time on the highways and byways. What is sin? Sin is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin, transgress also the law. What law? The law of Moses, the law of God. For sin is the transgression of the law of Moses and of God. So sin is when you break God's law. So when we read Romans chapter 6 and verse 13, neither you your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto breaking God's laws, unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. Does this mean we're not supposed to keep the laws of God? No, it just means we're not under the law, the penalty of the law. We're under the grace of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. And that's where you come up with, you read stories like John chapter 8. And he said, woman, who stoned you? Who condemned you? And she said, nobody. He said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. That's what grace looks like. Now, if she would have kept sinning and she would have committed adultery again, I'm sure it's worthy enough for me to say Yahweh Shah would have been okay with her getting stoned. Because he even told another man, go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. Y'all acting like Yahweh Shah wasn't in the Old Testament talking to Moses. You know what I'm saying? They acting like Yahweh Shah just was never in the Old Testament. It's just the new. No, Yahweh Shah is the one who said he don't got his fringes on, put him to death. He don't want to keep the laws of God, put him to death. Straight up. They try to lean on, just Hamashiach Yahweh Shah, like that's going to save them, and it's not. So I want to go to this next point. And it's at 15:20. Check this out.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
It's crazy, man, what this dude saying. Nobody even says anything. Everybody's down with it. It's just sickening, man.
Moving its embassy to Jerusalem and said, would you please come to Jerusalem to pray the historical prayer over America moving its embassy to Jerusalem?
You see that? And of course, everybody about to clap because they're in America. But he said America is moving their embassy to Jerusalem. Man, let's sit here and meditate about this. The most wickedest country on earth is about to put an embassy, a garrison inside of supposedly the most, let's not even say supposedly, in the most holiest land. That's how that works, man. So basically, basically Satan has parts in God's kingdom, because we know that America is Satan's playground. So Satan finally moved into the kingdom of heaven, or God let Satan come back to heaven. Let's say that.
That was a supernatural fulfillment of prophecy. That was a major moment in the history of Israel. I said, absolutely. Weeks before, why did I say so quickly? Weeks before, Don and I had been to the White House to have dinner with the president for the purpose of asking him to move the embassy. At the end of our conversation, after I'd read the Bible about why this was the Jubilee year, that he should do it, he moved it just like he said he would. So the story ends with Matthew and Kendall in Washington receiving the award for the top 70, while Don and I were in Jerusalem praying over the historical moment when America's embassy was being moved to Jerusalem. The point I'm making here is when you start blessing Israel, God pours out blessings on your life faster than you can receive them. That's the point.
So you see what he's getting at. He wants you to give all your substance, all your money, and don't say anything negative against the people that's in that land. That's how they reverse you asking questions or even questioning if they the people. By saying, if you bless us, God is going to bless you. But here it is, we questioning if y'all even the people. So if we bless y'all, what is that going to look like for us? Blessing heathens, man. Y'all supposed to be blessing the true Israelites, man, the blacks, Hispanics, and natives. And that's just what it is. Right? So I want to go to Sirach chapter 12, right? So Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right? And I'm only bringing this out because here it is, there's an American embassy in Jerusalem. When God, it tells you in the scriptures, why are they not following the protocols of their forefathers of what they brought out? Because that's one thing us Israelites always done. We pass down generation, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from the Most High God. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped the looking glass. And I mean, I'm pretty sure we're past that part. I'm sure Israel know that America's wicked. And in fact, they know how wicked they are more than we do. It says, a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. And that's going into his history. You would know when you keep wiping him in and digging into his history, you would be like, bro, this nigga don't have nothing good on his resume. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. And that's what we're looking at. For y'all to be the people of the land, why ain't y'all following this? Because the Bible tell you not to do what you just did. The Bible tells you not to do what you just did. And they know this is in there. It says, neither let him sit at thy right hand, an American embassy in Jerusalem, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? Who's going to feel sorry when, if we was to do something like that, and then they overthrow us, and then we done lost everything because we wanted to go hand in hand with them? This is why we don't show no love to the so-called heathen nations, because we know what they own. These peasants, they trying to slip through the cracks and trying to come with us because their own elites have forsaken them. And it's not going like that, man. It's not happening like that. Only reason why we talk to the peasants of the heathen nations is because they're going to pass the message up the ladder. It says, so one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. When you begin to fall, he gonna help stump you out, man. He gonna kick that other leg up to make sure you have a hard fall. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. He want it all. He ain't gonna just shed a little blood. He want it all, man. He gonna make sure that you rise not back. You rise not back up, man. And the fact that we have woken up to who we are, you can just imagine the blood, you can just imagine what's on his mind. They spend billions of dollars, and Israelis included, spend billions of dollars to keep us from knowing who we are. And here it is, we're still waking up. Psalms 50 and chapter 16 on down, it said that he's going to set us in order before their eyes for playing this game. This is the most dangerous game in the world to play. Claiming to be the children of Israel and you not. Like God, I'm like, who was the Israelites again? Come on now, bro. It says, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his hand and clap his hands. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. Right? He's talking to the other heathen nations, and next thing you know, you surrounded, just like Israelis is surrounded right now by the 5 Arab armies getting overthrown. Right now, the Palestinian armies, the Arab armies are afraid. But when they start prospering, which the Most High God is going to help them, because they have to get up out that, out of Israel. So we're looking at our redemption, the fact that Israel is going to war right now. He's getting them out of the land. And here it is. Y'all return back into the land in 1948, but then here it is again. You're leaving the land because there's war. 285% spikes of Israelis leaving the land. Where y'all going? Y'all in the homeland. Why you not calling on God? Man, it just makes too much sense, man. It makes way too much sense. Right? But, that's all I want to show for now. I just want to point that out. This is what these pastors, these devilish, that's why I titled it Lies from the Devil himself. This is why we call a so-called white man a devil, because of sermons like this. Instead of saying, hey, the gig is up. They're the Israelites. We need to just go ahead and accept what we accept, because the Most High going to make sure you drink the cup. You're going to drink the cup. You're not going to better kick the cup. You're going to drink the cup. So all praises to the Most High God. All thing we got to do is be patient and watch the downfall of America and Israel. The Israelis, Salakia. So until next time, I say shalom.